The Sabrael Confession by Stephen Smith. The Heavenly War Chronicles, Book 1, Chapter 7. The clash of weapons echoed through my hall. Stepping in a close circle, sword poised to counter another attack. I tried to ignore the calm smirk on Raphael's lips. His twin blades twirled as he jumped and lunged at me. His movement even more fluid than my own. The short swords spun in his grip to extend out for strikes, then lay against his back to block. I had to remember the hypnotic movements were all part of his attack. The blades struck my sword again and again until my hands ached. Raphael's smile was unnerving, but it exposed teeth clenched in effort. I blocked and drew his swords to the side, swinging around to deliver a decapitating strike. My sword swept through empty space. 2 pinpricks poked the back of my neck. Too slow, Sabrael. His swords lifted, and I turned to face him. His wings still spread from the flight around me. Why you insist on spinning like that is beyond me. I almost had you this time, I said. If you stopped trying to show off, maybe you would do better than almost. Have to keep it interesting, somehow. Winning stopped being fun ages ago, I teased. The rumbling bellow of a horn silenced his retort. The call for the guardians to convene. Without a word, we retracted our weapons and soared for the great hall. Raphael, Sabrael, we have the most wondrous news, Gabriel said. The worship area seemed impossibly large without the host gathered there. The ceiling was so high above. It was like viewing the sky from the surface of the earth. Our voices but whispered echoes in that gargantuan place. Noticing us, Michael strode over from where the others were already talking. I'd never seen him wear such a broad smile. Brothers, we are going to the earth. In times past, the prospect would have excited me, but after what I had seen, my first question was, how can we abandon our duties here when hell's army grows larger each day? That is precisely why we must go. We have a mission. Raphael sounded as shocked as me. Mission? Why was I not told? A smirk gathered in the corners of Michael's mouth. I'm telling you about it now. The 4 of us joined the rest, and Michael motioned for us to sit. Raphael and Gabriel took their seats at the foot of the throne. Brachiel, Uriel, and Haniel sat in theirs in the next row. The only open chair near me was adorned with large wings. It gleamed in the light of heaven. Yet the sight of it carried echoes of Lucifer's screams as he was torn from the kingdom, memories of his garish disfigurement. I realized the others were staring and quickly dropped into the seat beside Haniel. Michael stood in the center of the shining black floor, near the throne, though he took care not to touch it. Brothers, he said, since our assignment to the role of guardians, the Almighty has watched with pride as each of us has grown through the training of ourselves and each other. It is because of our devoted service that he calls upon us again for a new task, the most important there has ever been, but almost the most dangerous. Uriel said, enough with the speeches, just tell us what it is so we can get started. The rest of us laughed. Michael smiled again, and I was happy to see it. After being forced to expel Lucifer from heaven a second time, I thought he would never smile again. God has decided to free the souls of man from the shackles of sin, therefore ending Satan's rule over them and allowing them to join us here in heaven. The hall fell utterly silent. I sat dumbfounded, unable to comprehend this. Michael let the silence linger, waiting for one of us to react. I nearly jumped when finally Balakiel shouted in joy, and the rest leapt up to celebrate. Mankind, my favorite part of all creation, would finally be free to enter the kingdom. My excitement was overwhelming, yet something worried me. Raphael embraced me, his emerald eyes radiating happiness. Can you believe it? Your beloved humans will no longer be plagued by the fallen. Why do you not cheer loudest of all? I am beyond words, but what tasks seem important when compared with this news? We're here to talk about a mission. Michael shouted above all of our voices then, calling for quiet. Sabrael is right, brothers. I have more to tell. Please. The others returned to their seats, and I could feel their eyes on me, wondering how I could focus on anything but the joy of the news we'd just received. Michael continued, in order to free mankind from the sins that mar their souls, a great sacrifice must be made, a repayment for their willing disobedience. Many have even given over their souls to Lucifer's army and earned themselves damnation, and this must be absolved. To save mankind, someone must willingly take their place in the punishments they deserve. I was mortified. I would gladly do anything the Almighty asked of me, but the thought of being thrown into hell in place of the humans? I looked around the hall and found the same fear in everyone's eyes. I knew was present in mine. The sacrifice of a single angel would not nearly be enough, Michael said. Not even the entire host would be enough. So those of you thinking this, relax. Sometimes I thought I was the only one of the 7 of us who couldn't hear thoughts. To cleanse mankind, God, the Son, has offered himself in sacrifice. He will separate from the Trinity to be born as a human man and live perfectly in accordance with the Father's law. When the time is right, he will die a sinner's death and serve a sinner's punishment. Only a sacrifice this substantial will convince the Father to allow the humans into heaven. Uriel asked, "How can the Son be human? How can the Creator become the created?" Michael caught Uriel in a stern gaze. Is he not God? Does he not have the power to do anything he wishes? "That is not what I meant," Uriel said. "I simply wish to know the manner by which it will be done." Michael's tone softened. "The Holy Spirit will cause a human woman to conceive a child. The baby will be both God and man, divine yet mortal. That is the reason we have been called. We are being assigned the most important task ever undertaken. We are being sent to earth to protect God Himself." I was speechless. How were we to react to such an assignment? This wasn't simply delivering a message or administering God's wrath, as some of my brothers had done in the past. The others, I could see, were as dismayed as I. All except Gabriel, that is, leaning back in his seat, hands folded. I guess he'd already heard this. Michael continued, "The Father has commanded us to travel to earth and take human form. When the infant Son is born, we are to serve as his protectors from the fallen who will hunt him and the humans who will hate him until the time comes when he can defend himself." But Raphael laughed. "He is God. Why does he need our protection?" Michael paced around the throne. His movements, his grandeur, bespoke such power, and yet such grace. The humans he'd visited in times past must have found both fear and awe in his presence. In order for his sacrifice to be complete, the Son must live as a normal man under God's command, with no aid from his divinity. To use his might as God would eradicate his humanity. The process of becoming man will be so complete, he will even forget his true nature. He will be a newborn infant, just as vulnerable as any other. While he is still young and ignorant of his true nature, we must ensure no harm befalls him. For a moment we sat stunned at the enormity of this task. A single, obvious question lay before us. What if we fail? Michael met my gaze. Mankind will be damned forever. Those are the terms agreed upon between the Son and the Father. He only gets one chance. If the Son does not live and die without sin, if the fallen prevent him from doing so in any way, mankind will be lost. But the Father loves them, I argued. That is why he agreed to do this at all. Silence again filled the room. One chance for eternity. The idea was staggering. If we're to play human, Raphael said. Will we not be equals with those who would oppose us? How can we protect him in that way? I need to speak with God to learn specifics. However, I do know we will have certain advantages to aid us in this task. Michael seated himself for the first time. Fervor filled his eyes as he spoke of this assignment. His captivation with all this obvious. To defend our Creator from those who would overthrow him, this was everything Michael lived for. Although we will be forming physical bodies to make ourselves appear human, we do not have to follow the rules of those bodies. Hanael asked, what does that mean? Michael gripped the arms of his chair. We waste time here, brothers. We must make the journey to Earth. We all looked at each other, shocked, but Raphael asked, we are leaving now? Yes. We must go immediately in order to have time enough to prepare for his birth. The conception has already taken place. Uriel remained focused. Then speak quickly. What does rules of the body mean? Michael rose to pace again. I told you, I do not know specifics yet. To give you a vague notion, consider this. We will be able to form our bodies as we see fit. You will control its every aspect. You will look how you desire, move how you desire. You will have any physical abilities you want. You can control the bones and muscles of your body to jump higher than any human, run faster than any human. Not only that, you will be free to become solely spirit again whenever you want. You will never be hindered by the physical plane. Understand? Now we waste precious time. Everything will be explained once we are there. I promise you. Everyone stood to leave, but I had one lingering question. Michael. He turned back impatiently. Sabrael, please. Who will watch over the halls while we are away? Michael sighed and smiled. All has been taken care of. The seven of us walked outside, and as we stepped into the light, we were met by the entire host gathered at the entryway of the Hall of Song. A long aisle stretched through tens of thousands of shining robes leading to heaven's gate. Beautiful songs of farewell filled my ears. Flowers floated in the air, a twisting, dancing tapestry of silver blues and purples, golden yellows, and a full spectrum of others. It was like a personal tribute to my role before I was guardian. The songs of the host rang out amidst cheers from every direction. My brothers reached out from the crowd to clasp forearms with us, or to take hold of our hands and shower them with kisses and blessings as we passed. I knew they would have given anything to be assigned this role, this task. And looking at their faces, the honor of being chosen for the responsibility was undeniable. But at the same time, I felt a strange urgency taking hold in the back of my mind. Looking back, I saw the aisle collapse behind us as the crowd closed in, forcing us forward. Seeing this reminded me of the first battle with the fallen, Lucifer's followers being drawn to the gate to plunge out of the kingdom. I started to panic. White robes filled my vision, and I was blinded by their reflected light. The drone of their songs drowned out even my own thoughts. I saw visions of bizarre creatures whose grasping arms grew forward from their chests, who never stopped singing or cheering, whose bodies flowed together into one mass of hands and smiling faces. My head spun. The colors and the light and the sound cramping me, enveloping me, a scream wriggled up my throat, struggling to be born. I needed to escape, needed to find some place quiet to be alone. I felt control slipping away. Then I saw it. The tops of the trees in my hall came into view, extending high over the heads of the crowd. My hall, my duty in heaven, the reason I'd been selected for this mission, awe-inspiring even after the time I'd spent running through the trunks and leaping in the high branches. I realized then what the strange feeling filling my mind was. I was afraid to leave. The closer we drew toward the gate, the stronger the feeling burned that I should not go. Something was very wrong with all this. I wasn't a throne angel, not even close. Why was I being included in this assignment? Was being a guardian not blessing enough? What could I offer the group? The sight of my hall was a reminder of everything I was leaving behind should I step forth from the gate of the kingdom, and I wanted only to run back and seek its shelter. From the day they were created, I loved watching the humans and had always wanted to stand beside them. Seeing my brothers crowded around, though, singing songs that would warm even the coldest heart, I couldn't imagine leaving. I was consumed by the need to remain in heaven, and I paused in a swoon of despair. It was but a moment before Raphael saw me. Beaming a smile at the crowd, he came back and hooked an arm around my shoulder. "What are you doing?" he whispered. "We must go. It has been commanded of us." "I cannot leave," I said, barely able to stand. We are deserting our home, our paradise." Raphael firmly pulled me along. "You should be happiest of all. You are finally going to be among the humans. What is wrong with you?" "We will not be able to come home," I said, perhaps too loudly. Concern colored the faces of the angels closest to us. "We go to protect the sun from Lucifer and his followers. We are making sure the forces of hell do not gain control over our Lord and King. Is that not enough reason for you to stop this madness?" Sadly, it was not. He looked away for a moment, then said, "Look at the archway over your hall. Can you read the inscription?" I looked out over the crowd, and I could just make out the words, "First Hall of Heaven protected in this time by Adonai," in the absence of the guardian Sabrael. Raphael said, "See, you see, in this time, not forever. We go to Earth, we protect the sun, and we come back. That is all there is to it." I knew how ridiculous my anguish must have seemed, but I couldn't help it. The kingdom was paradise. It would be strange to feel nothing when asked to leave, would it not? I tried to put on a brave face for those gathered in our honor. Every angel in the kingdom had come to see us off, and the knowledge that they would entrust the safety of heaven to the seven of us, combined with the fact that the fate of all Earth's souls depended on the outcome of this mission, helped me to control my impulse to run back to my hall and bar the gate. Raphael's iron grip didn't hurt either. He led me to the gate where the others were waiting. The host closed around us in a great semicircle, their voices ringing out the final song and then continuing to cheer. The Almighty was near us then, and to each he spoke directly to our minds. "To me," he said, "my child, Sabrael, you are unique among your brothers, for you doubt your worth in the group. Though you do not realize it yet, your place among them is one of the highest. They will need you while on earth. You and you alone, none can replace you. How am I to live without your light?" I asked. The tears were swept from my face before they even fell. "I am with you always. You know this. What have you to fear? I am afraid I will never return home. In time you will once again be among your brothers here in the kingdom. Your path back may stray from the others. But fear not, my child. You will see your hall again." I nodded and found my fear had disappeared. The Almighty had taken it from me. I was instead filled with the joy of going to earth. The mighty, the Almighty, then spoke so all could hear. "Go now, my children, and know that I am pleased with you. Prepare the way for the coming of the Savior. In each of you, I have placed the knowledge needed to guide you while in the world of men. The rest Michael will tell you when the dust of the earth is under your feet. I love you all." The gate behind us swung open, and the seven of us turned to gaze at the blue world far below. The host erupted in a final cheer of farewell, and each of us in turn. The wardens of heaven's halls now turned guardians of the sun. stepped forward and flew from heaven to soar down to earth. I took one last look at the kingdom behind me, fear creeping up again, but before it could gain a foothold, I closed my eyes and stepped through the gate. I should have looked back longer.